What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. The UFC is back in Utah, in Salt Lake City, and I'm not gonna lie, this main card, look at it. Pretty underwhelming to say the least, but it doesn't matter because the GOAT is back.
Chama.
Coming off a light work KO victory over Jiri Prochazka to defend his belt once again, where he made it look easy, and he will try to do it again, this time versus Khalil Rountree Jr., just so he can save Dana White's ass one last time. A card that's headlined by the Penningtons. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the LDS is going to say about that. On top of all that, you have your early prelims where the average age of your fighter is 37 years old. Wow. Basically fighting out of the retirement home. Yasmin Lucindo, the youngest fighter on the card, she was only 5 years old when good old Tim Means was making his professional MMA debut. I'll start off going through every single fight on the card, starting off with the early prelims as always. I will have timestamps in the description, just so if you are interested in a single fight alone, you can go ahead and check the description. There will be timestamps there. Enjoy the intro. Starting off the card, we have Court Mcgee versus Tim Means. Tim Means is a 2-1 favorite over Court Mcgee. I think that is insane. Tim Means shouldn't be a 2-1 favorite over anybody at this point of his career. He does have looked a little bit better than Court recently versus better competition. He did all right versus Holland, but look at his record. These two guys are on horrible runs. Tim Means has lost 4 of his last 5, and his only win is against where he knocked out Andre Fiallo. We all know Fiallo, he was getting knocked out by everybody. And with Tim Means, man, that fight versus Kevin Holland, that was 2 years ago. And he is 40 years old now. He has a better UFC record. He's very good on the inside. He just the only thing he has is dirty boxing. They don't call him the Dirty Bird for no reason. That's like his bread and butter. That's pretty much all he does. He has good wrestling. He can hold you against the cage, grind it out, make it ugly. But that's like Court Mcgee's game. That's literally Court Mcgee. All has left on the tank is just grind out against the cage. And both of these guys want to counter punch. They don't throw a lot of combinations. Aldo Means will throw more volume. More combinations. He has some solid kicks. He likes to work from the outside. He throws good volume, but little to no power. And he eats a lot of straight punches. Court Mcgee has a very good jab, so maybe that he can expose him that way. But just look at how fast he tapped versus Alex Morono, man. He has a lot of submission losses. If Mcgee decides to just wrestle and grapple, I think he can sub him easily. They're both super tough. Kind of have a similar style. Although I think Court Mcgee is so much better on the grappling and the wrestling. If Tim Means decides to wrestle, because he's a wrestling coach now for kids and whatnot, he's going to get eaten alive by Court Mcgee. That's literally all Court Mcgee has left. And even then, like, if you go and watch Court Mcgee's last fights, for example, versus Alex Morono, he was just there. Like, Alex Morono looked fucking terrible on his last fight, and he beat Court Mcgee back in March, I believe. And, Morono sucks now, and he beat Mcgee pretty easily. He's just there throwing jabs, and like the cardio and doing a lot of grinding and throwing a lot of jabs, a lot of volume was like a big part of his game. That's how he made a career out of it, just being tough. But look at this man. He is like 3-8 on his last fights. Horrible run. He's not very good anymore. I don't think he ever was very good. Maybe he was good, like, but that was like 10 years ago. He's 39 years old. This is in Utah, so maybe this is probably his last fight. I would have to assume that. One last hurrah in front of your home crowd. I think he gets it done. I really wanted to go with Mcgee by sub because I think if he just implements a heavy grapple game plan, he can sub Tim Means pretty easily. He is a much better grappler here. But I'm done betting on finishes. I'm done predicting finishes on the early prelims. On the prelims, they're there for a reason. So I'll just have to ride with Mcgee by decision. We move on. OSP versus Ryan Spann coming in at minus 300. Again, another stupid, ridiculous line only because OSP's 41. But OSP looked fine on his last fight, bro. He fought back in March. He looked great. His striking, and volume were his thing. That kind of got away with the years. He's the better grappler, the much better wrestler, high IQ. He does a lot of nothing 90% of the time. He's just there throwing kicks. And he has been in some wars, has taken quite a bit of damage throughout his career. He could try take down Spann and submit him, but the thing is he probably won't even try to do so. He's very low volume. He kind of turned up the heat on his fight versus Kennedy in Chukwu. If he survives the first round, weather the storm, versus a not very technical guy like Spann, OSP is good. Like, you don't get to fight until your 40s if you are not smart and you're not good. Don't worry, he will not look like Arlovsky. Arlovsky looked horrible for like fucking 8 years now. I don't think OSP has looked as bad. And, I mean, he could just probably win by throwing front kicks, throwing jabs from range, or he could just wrestle, clinch. He's the better grappler. He's the better wrestler. I liked OSP. This fight was rescheduled, I believe, from the Kanonir Bahal card. I liked OSP then. I love it even more here. In elevation, Ryan Spann has horrible cardio. You probably know Ryan Spann because he has lost 3 times now to Anthony Smith, the GOAT. And Spann, he's just one of those guys. He doesn't have really good volume. He gasses. I worry that this is in Salt Lake City, so elevation's definitely playing a role. On his previous 3 wins, I mean, look at his competition. It's terrible. He doesn't look great. Just got knocked out by Goose Can. Not very impressed. He's a good wrestler. He's an grappler, I think. But he sees himself as like this insane grappler, and he's not. He's not very bright. I think he's going to try and grapple with old man OSP, and he's going to get in trouble. I said it already, and I'll say it again. I liked OSP when this was back in the Apex. I love this here in this spot at this price. I'm laying a bet on OSP. He could even sub Ryan Spann because I think he's going to beat death in 2 minutes. Ryan Spann usually has like 3-minute cardio, and this is in elevation, so this has to be a 2-minute KO or bust for Ryan Spann. If you have Ryan Spann in your parlays, I think you are clinically insane. You never want to lane minus 300 when, I mean, the only path to victory for Spann is get a KO in 120 seconds. Like, you only get your shot within a 2-minute window. No way I'm betting that. No way you should be betting that. This line is stupid. OSP is winning by decision here. Up, we go to the strawweight division, where two of the smallest women in the history of the UFC. Carla Esparza versus Tisha Pennington. Another double retirement fight. Tisha Pennington coming in as the favorite, minus 170. There might be some recency bias because of her how she looked versus Tabitha Ricci on her last fight. She obviously won that fight. She got robbed. And Tabitha Ricci, she's also as small as these two, but she is light years ahead of Carla Esparza on the feet. Tabitha Ricci's striking is awful. Esparza's is even worse. You might know Esparza because she's the first strawweight champion, but you definitely know her for being in the worst fight in the history of the UFC. Versus Rose Namajunas. I like Tisha Pennington a lot here, a lot. And we know the Cookie Monster is retiring after this, and Tisha Pennington is retiring also. This is her second fight after having a baby. She was away for 2 years. Second fight of the year. Ricci didn't do shit in that fight. Didn't give her no wrestling problems. You could assume Esparza will have a little bit more success. But Esparza, 2-year layoff. She's married now. She's a mom now. She's back. She has absolutely nothing on the feet for Pennington. Pennington is faster, better striker, more athletic. She's probably stronger. She's always in great shape. And Carla Esparza is just a one-trick pony. Like, honestly, just bet Tisha Pennington, put her on your parlays. I don't see how Carla Esparza can win this. I mean, yeah, if she takes her down and if she manages to keep her there, I mean, her ground and pound could look good. But her striking is horrible. Good cardio, good chain wrestling. That's it. Like, she has no way to inflict damage on Tisha Pennington. And this is going the distance. Tisha Pennington will land north of 80 significant strikes, as significant as they are for this division anyways. So Tisha Pennington will probably won't have not even a fucking single red mark on her face by the time this fight is over. I'm going with Pennington by decision here. I think she's going to put on a beat down on Carla Esparza's retirement fight, and she's going to retire after it as well. Next up, Austin Hubbard and Alex Hernandez. God, this fight fucking stinks. Alex Hernandez, almost a 2-1 favorite, is crazy again, keeping up with the theme in this card. I don't even want to talk about this fight. This fight fucking sucks. It reeks. But anyways, here we go. Both of these guys have under 500 records in the UFC. With Alex Hernandez, God, you just never know what you're going to get with him. You never know what's going inside his head. He has a lot of issues. He deals with anxiety. The guy cannot get out of his own head. And it definitely reflects inside the cage. He looked horrible versus Damon Jackson. He's a low-volume striker with some power. He's not a very good grappler. Doesn't have the wrestling. He's a great athlete. And honestly, he is just better off being, a full ape like he was when he came into the UFC. Everybody bought into the idea of Alex Hernandez after what he did to Beneil Dariush. Unfortunately for him, that's all he is. Like, there is an idea of what Alex Hernandez is or was supposed to be compared to what he really is. And he's an under 500 fighter. I mean, just look at his record. He's losing to mid fighters. Like, they're not like that great. He definitely has a advantage on the level of competition that he's fought compared to Austin Hubbard, who recently got his ass kicked by Michel Fickleg. And Hubbard, he's a good wrestler, okay hands. He's decent everywhere, honestly. I don't think he has like a big hole on his game. And he's decent, he's good everywhere. But I thought he lost versus Fickleg. At the end of the day, that doesn't matter. He got his hand raised. He's super tough, so I don't see how Hernandez gets a finish. Hubbard knows what he wants to do. He goes out there and does it. I think he's much more reliable than Alex Hernandez at this point. Even though I really cannot get over that loss to Kurt Holova on Tough. That was disgusting. This is his second stint in the UFC. He lost in the Tough. They still signed him. He barely won against Fickleg. He's back. He's a good wrestler. He has some horrible losses on his record. Not very impressed with his wins. But I cannot trust Alex Hernandez, not right now. I'm going with the dog in this spot. If Hernandez would have been the dog, I probably would have gone with him, but I'm not really sure because I just cannot trust that guy. Not anymore. I think his career is over. So I'm going with the underdog here, Austin Hubbard by decision. I think he can win 2 rounds versus Hernandez. Next up, we have Igor Potieria versus Cesar Almeida, minus 300. I think this line has dropped, minus 380, because I'm pretty sure it was north of minus 400. And I agree. You probably know Cesar Almeida for being the guy that beat Alex Pereira on a kickboxing match. A long time ago, they fought, I think, 3 times. Cesar got him once. They'll probably mention this like 1,000 times during the broadcast. And Cesar, he's a great striker. Like, what you expect from a Glory Kickboxing. He's phenomenal, has good power. And honestly, I don't think he's as bad as he looked on the ground versus Kopylov. I thought he was doing great on the feet. And it was honestly a phenomenal fight. Both guys were landing huge shots. He works the body well. We saw that in that fight too. And that fight was great until Kopylov was getting tired. Well, he gassed and decided to make it very boring. He was doing nothing. He was just holding on for dear life, wet blanketing Cesar. I don't know how the ref didn't step in. But anyways, so he kind of accepted bottom position in that fight. I think he was trying not to gas. He didn't want to tire himself out trying to get back up. But if he would have done that, Kopylov was exhausted. Like, he was done. So, I mean, that's kind of worry. I mean, not a good level of IQ, fight IQ on MMA. But hey, this guy's like that was his second UFC fight. I believe his 6th professional MMA fight. So you have to give him time. I know he's old, but he's so good. It wouldn't surprise me that he shows here on another level because of his camp. He trains with Glover, with Pereira. Those guys are very smart. They're very good. And he has sneaky good takedown defense. I know it didn't look very good versus Kopylov, but again, versus a wrestler in vodka, he looked great. But it turns out that guy's just a fraud. So not much stock in that fight, but I think this is Cesar all day here. Because Igor Potieria, what is he going to do? Like, he's a good striker. He can offensively wrestle, but the guy has no cardio. Like, he has no gas tank, horrible cardio. He's always tiring himself out. Honestly, I think his best shot is just trying to get a KO fast before he gasses. If he goes out and tries to implement a heavy wrestle game plan, grind, clinch, maybe style on top, control Caesar, he'll eventually fade, and he'll fade faster than he normally does because of the elevation. So I don't see a clear path for Pereira here. He is dangerous, he has power, and he's a good striker, but his chin is compromised at this point. I mean, we just saw him get knocked out by Michel Pereira back in Rio. And the guy, I mean, if the win for both guys is a knockout, I'm going with the more technical striker and the guy that isn't getting knocked out left and right. I love Cesar Almeida here by knockout. I think this fight ends fast. I think Potieria is going to blitz him, rush him, or if he waits out, tries to wait for a good spot to shoot for a takedown. Before he finds it, Cesar's going to find his chin first. So he's getting knocked out. I don't think this fight goes too long. I expect Cesar to end this in round 1, if not early round 2. Next up, we have Marina Rodriguez versus Yasmin Lucindo. I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the most exciting fights on the card for me, at least. I'm very intrigued by the outcome of this fight. I know it's a women's fight and it's strawweight, but believe me, you do not want to miss this one. But Yasmin Lucindo being almost a 2-1 favorite. I saw this at minus 170. I'm pretty sure she opened up as a plus 110 underdog, and I would have played her if I had gotten that line. But at this price, I'm not touching this fight. I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy it. You have the vet Marina Rodriguez, who you probably know her for the beatdown she put on Michelle Waterson Gomez a couple years back. It was one of the worst beatdowns in the history of the UFC, and we've never seen anything like it. My problem with Rodriguez is old now. She's 37. She might be 38 by the time of this fight. I don't remember. And she's on a horrible run now, losing 3 out of her last 4 fights. And before her loss to Amanda Lemos, she beat Jan, which I thought she got lucky. So this, could have been 4 out of 5 losses. She's not looking very good. I think the age has finally caught up to her, which means more than likely we'll see something similar to what happened in UFC 300, where she fought Jessica Andrade and she was just out physical. She's not very good on the ground. She's not very strong. She doesn't have good striking defense. Even though I just shit on Marina Rodriguez, she is very, very, very good. Like, she's so good. Her striking is very high level. She throws great straight shots. She has good volume. She has some nasty elbows and knees on the clinch. She's tall for the division, although she's only 5'6". I think she fights much taller than that, and you can see it. She has 0 to no striking defense. She's always getting hurt. Her chin is up in the air, and she's a turtle off her back. She doesn't do good when she's pressured. So I have to ride with Lucindo. Her only loss in the UFC was her debut versus Yasmin Jauregui, which, I mean, I think she's still very good. Yasmin Lucindo, she's a very good striker. And honestly, she looked fucking amazing on 301 versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. So she's coming off the best win of her career. She's still so young. She's just 22 years old. She has some pop. She throws a lot of loopy punches. She already has 8 knockout wins on her career. And that's insane for the weight class and for her age. To be fair, 3 out of those 8, the first 3 fights she ever fought on her professional career. She was fighting, as you can see here, girls with no record, so just beating cans, basically. Nevertheless, I think she has aura. I said I'm never, ever again betting against aura. So I'm going with Lucindo here. She can replicate what Andrade did. She will have the better moments. She will land the heavier shots. She maybe gets out volume here, similar to the Andrade fight. But Lucindo, she's younger, she's faster, has more power. She's the better wrestler. She's the better grappler. No way I'm laying this number, but I cannot pick Marina. So I'm rocking with Yasmin Lucindo. She could get a knockout because Marina Rodriguez always gets hurt. And you know what? I'm predicting a knockout. I think she does it in the second round. Next up, the featured prelim fight. Steven Wonderboy Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley, the new Monza. I don't know why this fight isn't in the main card. Everybody's saying that, but I have to agree with him. It's crazy not having this fight. To be honest, Steven Thompson is probably retiring. Buckley. Joaquin Buckley is probably winning this fight. We'll get in an interview, so why not? We have another line that skyrocketed overnight. I thought this was like a minus 170, minus 180. Now it's, minus 220. And with Wonderboy, we know what we're getting with Wonderboy. I mean, we know all about him by now. Coming off a loss versus Shafkat, where nobody wanted to fight him, he took that fight, was a company man. And honestly, he did a lot better than people thought he was going to do. This man is one of the best strikers ever. Like, just pure striker. His karate style was unmatched at some point. He was near untouchable. Like, he was amazing. But let's be realistic. He's not that anymore. He came very close to winning the belt at this division. But his game relies just so much on athleticism. And you have to worry about him. He's 41. He's not getting any younger. He's always had questionable takedown defense. And I think he's retiring after this fight, win or lose. Buckley, on the other hand, is coming off a great win, probably the biggest win of his career. And he's here. He has arrived. This guy has aura. Okay, he has aura. He's on a crazy run. And you know what? Not only is he on a crazy run and has like aura, he's fucking good, okay? He is legit. Joaquin Buckley is so good. He has great boxing. He looked great versus Rusaboyev. Good body work, great boxing, weaving and bobbing, technically sound. On top of all that, his wrestling has gotten very, very good. Every time this man steps inside the octagon, he has improved a lot. He just keeps getting better and better. Obviously, fighting is a priority to him. He seems to, this is, the main thing in his life. I'm not really sure about Wonderboy anymore. So I'm riding with Buckley here. He has insane power. This guy really hits like a fucking truck. And I worry about Wonderboy. I know he's very hard to hit because of his style, but he just relies so much on that athleticism of his. But he's 41. Like, come on. And Buckley, he moves around a lot, has very good entries. That blast double leg, this guy is huge. He's a lot stronger. Great, he can wrestle, mean ground and pound, great top game. And I cannot wait for that post-fight interview here because I think he's winning this fight easily. I think he gets Steven Thompson out. I think he takes his time. We know he's not dumb, but Buckley has IQ, good fighting IQ. I think he eventually finds the takedowns in the second round, and he gets him out by the third. I'm going with Buckley, third round knockout, ground and pound. Next up, Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland to opening up the main card. I like Dolidze here. He's an ape. I know his striking is horrible, to be honest. He just went to a decision with Anthony Smith. To be fair, that was on short notice, and his debut at light heavyweight, he looked decent. I thought he looked better than at 185 here. But this dude, he is very tough. He's durable. That grappling level of Roman Dolidze is honestly, his jiu-jitsu is elite. He's so strong. He's very, very good. His grappling for this weight class is amazing. And although Kevin Holland has some sneaky, very, very underrated jiu-jitsu, because a lot of people just see him as a striker, but Dolidze, he just wins. Like, he does everything wrong, especially on the feet. He finds a way to win. He's tough. He has good kicks. He's very athletic, freak athlete. He'll shoot, like, just blast double legs. He'll push forward. Like, it doesn't matter that he doesn't have the best gas tank. He'll push forward. He'll put the pressure on you. He's super explosive, dynamic, great jiu-jitsu. I think if he gets on top of Kevin Holland, it's over. He destroyed Hernandez, and they fast-tracked him. Obviously, it didn't go as planned. He lost to Potieria, and then in a very competitive fight versus Imavov, and look at him now. Dolidze had moments. I think he is underrated at this point. I don't know how is Kevin Holland the favorite here. Honestly, the line surprises me. And Holland should have a good weight cut. I mean, I don't think he cuts any weight like at all. I think he said it himself that he doesn't really cut weight to make 185. He's a very skinny guy. He's tall. He has range. He wants to work from the range, use his striking. With Kevin Holland, he has that legendary chin, and he will have a huge advantage on the feet. Has good boxing, straight shots. But for me, he's just one of those fighters that always avoids the path of least resistance. So that doesn't show very good fighting IQ. I know he can push the pace here on the feet, stop the takedowns. If he can stop the takedowns, this is Holland all day. Probably by decision. Maybe he can finish Dolidze, because this guy has underrated jiu-jitsu, but he's just so skinny. Going up against a guy that's so physical, very strong. Honestly, he's huge. And a better grappler on top of all that. And a lot of the times in all the Holland's fights, I don't see like urgency. I see that we know that he doesn't want to be world champion. He just fights for the money. Kevin Holland likes money. He wants to get paid. That's why he fights. He's very good. I'm a big fan of his. He's one of my favorite fighters. He's so game. But what happens when Dolidze grabs him, pushes him up against the fence, and tries to take him down? Like, I cannot trust Kevin Holland to, go out there and have the sense of urgency to get out of bottom position, to get out of bad positions. And honestly, I think that could cost him the fight. So I'm going with Dolidze here. I think he wins a decision. Boring ass decision. Next up, we have Doug Harrison versus Caitlin Viera. I mean, they're just laughing in our faces. We know what's up with Doug Harrison. I mean, just look at this shit. Like, they've already fooled us with Michelle Obama once. We're not going to fall for the trap again. Kayla Harrison is going to destroy Caitlin Viera. Let's be honest. She's going to take her down and absolutely abuse her on the ground. On the first round. Kayla Harrison by ground and pound TKO on the first round. Next up, we have the featured fight of the night. Jose Aldo is back. He's facing Mario Bautista. Bautista is the short favorite, almost minus 150. To be honest, I don't get the line, and it's scaring the shit out of me. What do the odds makers know that they are comfortably having Aldo out there? Everybody's on Aldo. Everybody loves Aldo. as like I'm just here sitting thinking through this fight, and I like Aldo too. Coming off that dominant win in UFC 301 in Rio, he made his comeback, and the only reasoning behind or case I can make to pick Mario is he may have, just emptied the tank that night and he has nothing left. He's already in the Hall of Fame. This man is not a single day under 40. There is no way. And beating Mario Bautista, losing to Mario Bautista, it changes nothing. Okay? His legacy is already cemented. He's one of the GOATs. So that means he only loses to GOATs too. I mean, we have losses to Volkanovski, loses twice to Max Holloway. Peter Yan, he's not a GOAT, but he was on his prime and Aldo was on his way out. And let's not forget what Conor did to him. He's probably the best boxer in MMA. He's so good. He just put on a clinic on Jonathan Martinez. And you cannot take this man down. His fight versus Merab, that was at altitude as well. It was in Utah. He didn't gas out, so I don't think you should worry about that. So, I mean, his defense, perfect. And he seems to just keep getting better and better as a, he's aging like a fine wine. But this man is not a single day under 40. And I think that's the only angle that I can see here for Mario. Now let's talk about Bautista. He needs to put on a crazy pace on Aldo, and we know he can do it. He has crazy cardio. That's probably one of his best weapons. Just pressure him all day. Throw a lot of volume, mix in some body work, be on his face all the time, cringe, grind it out, be a fucking pest throughout 15 minutes. Another thing is he's not a traditional wrestler. He never wrestled before getting into MMA. So he's an MMA wrestler. Maybe that's a difference. But at this point, Aldo has seen everything. He cannot hang in on the feet versus Aldo. I mean, his fight versus Ricky Simon, I think that has aged horribly. Aldo, he's better somehow. Cardio is Mario's best friend here. Use this great gas tank of his. He's probably going to drop round 1, so no point in betting him pre-fight. I think you can get Mario at plus money, at least even money. This line worries me. Like I said already, everybody is on Aldo. You go on Instagram, you go on Twitter. All of these meme pages are picking Aldo. He's the favorite underdog on this card. And honestly, I think they're going to jinx him, so I'm leaning Mario because of that. Even though Mario is on a similar skill level to Jose Aldo's wins, I mean, you got Pedro Munoz, Rob Font, Jonathan Martinez, Chito Vera. Picking Mario Bautista, I'm going with the cardio, the youth, the speed. Probably hits harder at this point. So I think he pushes a crazy pace on him, and he can win rounds 2 and 3. Maybe has some success in the grappling because he's just so funky and weird. He moves a lot. He's not, a traditional wrestler. So I'll trust him. I'll trust his cardio. I'm going with the younger fighter here. I'm not betting on another 44-year-old man again on this card. I think Mario Bautista gets it done by decision. Next up, the co-main event. The women's bantamweight world title is on the line. Raquel Pennington is defending her championship. She's a minus 170 favorite versus the Venezuelan Fox, Juliana Pena. You guys already know what I think about this division, so I'm not going to rip them apart like everybody's doing. Nobody's going to watch this. I'm probably going to skip this. Pennington is probably one of the worst champions ever. You guys need to get rid of this division. Please, UFC. If you're somehow anybody that's worked with the UFC or works for the UFC, please tell them they need to get this memo, get rid of the 135 division, and open up 145 again. All that being said, I think this fight will be a lot better than people think. It has to exceed expectations, okay? It has to exceed expectations by a lot, because the bar is set so low. There is no way that it is worse than we already believe it will be. There is just no way. This has to be. This is going to be a good fight. Like we are going to watch it and be like, alright, like that wasn't so bad. So I'm going with Raquel Pennington. I think she can probably get the finish, but I'll just play it by decision. She's just solid. Like, she's good. Like, she doesn't make stupid mistakes like Juliana Pena. Everybody, is kind of picking Juliana Pena, talking about, oh, she beat Amanda Nunes. But she does. So she makes so many mistakes. She's not good. She's not a good fighter. Like, she sucks. She sucks. I have to fade the Fox here. This is the Pennington's night. Okay, this is all about the Penningtons here. The Pennington parlays. That's a lock. It will cash. Parlay the Penningtons because Raquel Pennington is keeping her belt. Raquel Pennington by decision. Finally, the reason you're probably here, the bets segment. If you're new, you probably want to fade all of these plays. I have a horrible record. My bets always lose on the last leg if they're parlays. You know how it goes. My predictions, they're pretty bad. So, yeah, you know what to do. First bet of the night, I have a $50 bet on Austin Hubbard. I'll just continue to fade Alex Hernandez until he retires. Next, I think this is probably the safest parlay that you can find here. So just parlay Tisha Pennington with Cesar Almeida, and you could probably throw in Raquel as well so you can get a much better plus money number. I have 500 on that. Now that I think of it, I probably should have done Tisha, Cesar by KO, and Raquel, but whatever. Already have that ticket, 500 to win 505, pretty much at even money. Next, I have a $50 bet on OSP, which. The more I think of it and the closer we get to fight night, I'm starting to regret it. But, Ryan Spann minus 300, no thank you. Next on the main card, Dolidze, I got a $100 bet on him. I don't trust Kevin Holland, and I think he just fights for the money. And I think Dolidze grappling is elite, and he's, much bigger physically. And finally, Kayla Harrison inside the distance. I don't know how they're giving you this at plus money. I mean, maybe they're thinking she's going to gas and it's going to be a lot of, hugging and holding on for dear life, wet blanketing from her. But she's mean. Like, she just beat the absolute shit out of Holly Holm. I think I rushed it, but I didn't want to wait to see the weigh-ins because if she looked great again, this would have jumped to like minus 200, so I had to jump now. I know I just talked about the Pennington parlay. I'll definitely, if I start off the night like 2-2 or 3-1, 4-0, I'll definitely I'll put on some money on just Raquel Pennington. But yeah, those are the bets, and tell them, fade them, do whatever you want. Let's get on to the main card, the main event. Finally, we made it to our main event. Alex Pereira is trying to save the UFC once again. This is the third time he does this in a span of 5-6 months. He saved them in UFC 300, 303, now 307. He's saving this pathetic card. He's a north of minus 400 favorite. Your underdog, Khalil Rountree Jr., coming in at around plus 360. And I think there is a lot at stake here because I've not seen anybody mention this. I haven't heard anybody or seen something on Twitter that... Do you guys realize if Khalil Rountree Jr. beats Alex Pereira, which he has a shot, because this is, it's a heavier weight class, that puncher chance will always be there. We are on one punch away from Khalil Rountree Jr. to having the worst set of champions of all time. That's what's at stake here. And I'm really worried because it doesn't make sense for Khalil Rountree to win. So that means it's probably going to happen. You know that scene in the Avengers movies where Thanos is collecting those like gems, and he finishes putting them in his gauntlet. I think this is. I mean, Khalil Rountree Jr. is the last piece, the missing piece to complete the gauntlet. I mean, because look at this shit. And now it pains me to have DDP there, but it looks ugly. Like, when I say he sucks, he's not very technical. It doesn't look pretty. If you see the guy fight, he doesn't look like a champion. But anyways, we're not here to talk about DDP. I love DDP. Like, don't get me wrong. I love DDP. I think he's a great watch. Now let's break down the fight. Pereira, he just wants to work on the outside. He's so good. He's so patient. He finds his shot. Like, he finds his shot. It's very hard to get inside, and that's where Rountree wants to be, because he will have a quite significant reach disadvantage. So he has to get in the pocket, and I think he can. Rountree, he's very fast. He will definitely have a speed advantage here, and he has power. Okay, the guy has power. This is one of the hardest hitting guys that Pereira has ever been inside the cage with. So that puncher's chance is there, and like, nobody's giving him a shot. The line is crazy. Everybody's on Pereira. They're like, there's no way he shouldn't even be here. Everybody's saying that. And Rountree Jr., he's not bad. Like, he doesn't suck. Does he deserve this? No. He has some horrible like wins. I'm not like, I don't think anybody's impressed by what he's done, what he's accomplished so far in the UFC. Probably the hardcore fans know him because he was piping Veronica Hardy before she was Veronica Hardy. He only has a 9-5 record in the UFC. He just got popped for steroids. That situation was very, it was complicated. But his last two wins are what? Chris Daukaus, the GOAT, Anthony Smith, who, I mean, that fight should have not been stopped. He beat Dustin Jacoby. I mean, again, just a mid fighter. This guy has losses to Marcin Prognu, Ion Cuchalaba. Dude lost to Johnny Walker. Tyson Pedro. Okay, Tyson Pedro was good back then. Like, this guy, I mean, look at his wins. Like, he looked okay. He didn't look good against Eric Anders. If he would have lost that fight, that would have put him in a 4-fight losing streak. He would probably be outside of the UFC. I mean, he has a very, like, 5-fight winning streak. I know this is light heavyweight, so I mean, there's only like 3 good fighters. But he will have that reach disadvantage is worrisome, the height. But he has the speed, man. He's a very good athlete. And Alex Pereira, I don't think he has a very good chin. If Khalil Rountree lands a clean shot, I think he's putting Alex to sleep. We've seen Pereira get hurt multiple times, and I have to pick against him here. Just when a fighter gets that aura of invincibility, they tend to lose. Just when the whole world is on them, they tend to lose. Similar to what happened to Amanda Nunes. When the first fight with Grasso and Shevchenko. I know those are women's fights. But who's the guy that beat GSP? Nobody remembers his name. So I think I have to ride with Khalil Rountree Jr. I mean, again, my predictions are horrible. So I mean, at the end of the day, we'll probably just, Pereira will get another highlight KO for his legendary GOAT status career already. And I'm going to be wrong. I'm picking Khalil Rountree Jr. because I hope I'm wrong and I want to jinx him. I'm picking Khalil Rountree Jr. to win. If he wins, he's probably by knockout. I think this fight is going to be very low paced. Both guys will be very careful. So I think he catches Pereira on round number 3. That's it. That's the end of the video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are not subscribed. And let me know if you agree or disagree with me in my prediction where I'm giving Khalil Rountree a shot here. Until then, stay blessed.